In a valley nestled between tall, purple mountains, the world was held in a state of perpetual twilight. The sun never fully rose, and the moon never truly ruled the sky. Instead, the world was bathed in a constant, soft, and beautiful silvery blue light. This was the home of a young girl named Lyra. She loved her quiet, gentle world, but she had heard stories from her grandmother of a time long ago. A time when the world was not just blue and silver, but also gold and warm. The stories spoke of a great and wonderful creature, Ignis, the Sunstone Dragon, who lived in the heart of the highest mountain. The legends said that the dragon's body was made of pure, warm sunstone, and that its gentle, fiery breath was what brought the dawn to the valley every morning. But something had happened long ago. A great sorrow had fallen upon the dragon, and it had retreated deep into its cave and fallen into a deep, cold sleep. Without its warmth, the true dawn was forgotten, and the valley was left in its beautiful, but cold and unchanging, twilight. Lyra would often look up at the great, silent mountain and wonder about the sleeping dragon. Her heart filled with a quiet longing for a warmth she had never known. In recent years, the twilight had begun to grow a little dimmer, a little colder. The gentle magic of the valley was fading. The river, which used to sparkle with a silvery light, now flowed with a sluggish, darker current, and thin, delicate slivers of ice were beginning to form along its banks, even in what should have been the warmest season. The beautiful, glowing moss that grew on the trees, which had always provided a soft, blue light to the paths, was now faint and weak, its glow barely visible. The flowers of the valley, which had adapted to the low light, were now struggling. Their petals seemed to droop with a deep weariness, and their colors were less vibrant than Lyra remembered. The elders of her village would gather by the communal fire, their faces full of worry, speaking in hushed tones. They said that the dragon's long sleep was turning into something deeper, that its inner fire was in danger of going out completely. If that happened, the twilight would fade into a permanent, cold night, and the valley would be lost to an endless winter. Lyra would listen to their worried whispers, and her heart ached. She looked at the fading moss and the icy river, and a fierce, determined love for her home bloomed within her. She could not just stand by and watch her beautiful world fade away into darkness. That evening, Lyra went to the oldest woman in the village, a wise elder with eyes as old as the mountains themselves. She asked the elder to tell her the full story of the Sunstone Dragon. Ignis was not a creature of destruction, the old woman said, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves. He was a creature of warmth, of life. His heart was a gentle, glowing ember. But a great sadness fell upon him when his only friend, a beautiful, soaring phoenix, flew towards the sun and never returned. In his grief, he allowed his own inner fire to cool, and he fell into a stone sleep from which he has never woken. Lyra listened, her heart full of sympathy for the lonely dragon. "Is there no way to wake him?" she asked. The elder looked at Lyra with her wise old eyes. "There is one legend," she said softly. "It says that the dragon's fire can only be rekindled by the last memory of the sun's pure warmth, and that warmth is held in the petals of the Sun-Petal Flowers, which grow only in the one hidden place in the valley where the twilight is warmest." The elder then gave Lyra a small hand-drawn map. "It is a long and dangerous journey to the dragon's cave," she warned, "but you have a brave and kind heart, little one. If anyone can wake the dragon, it is you." Following the elder's old map, Lyra set out the next morning. Her journey took her away from her village and deep into the silent, misty woods. The path was cold and hard, and the air grew colder with every step she took. After a long walk, the map led her to a tall, sheer cliff face that seemed impossible to pass. But as she looked closer, she saw a small, hidden opening at its base, almost completely covered by hanging, frozen ivy. She pushed the icy vines aside and stepped through into a secret, hidden glen. And here, the world was completely different. The air was wonderfully, magically warm. A gentle, warm steam rose from cracks in the earth, and the ground was soft and lush with vibrant, healthy green moss. At the center of the glen was a small, bubbling hot spring, its water as clear as crystal. This was the last warm place, a tiny pocket of the valley that still remembered the feeling of the sun. And all around the edges of the warm, steaming pool, growing in the rich, dark earth, were the flowers she was searching for. They were even more beautiful than the stories had described. Lyra approached the flowers with a sense of deep reverence. They were the last of the sun's magic in her world. Each one was a perfect, multi-petaled blossom, and their petals were not solid, but seemed to be woven from pure, shimmering, golden sunbeams. They radiated a gentle, comforting warmth that pushed back the cold of the outside world. She knew she could not just pick them. A gift for a sad heart had to be given freely. She knelt down beside the most beautiful of the flowers and began to sing. It was a soft, gentle song, a song of gratitude for the sun, a plea for the flower to share its warmth. She sang of how the valley missed the feeling of a true dawn, and of the great, sad dragon who had forgotten the feeling of his own inner fire. As she sang, the most magnificent of the sun-petal flowers seemed to listen. It turned its glowing head towards her, and then, one by one, 5 of its beautiful, light-filled petals detached from the stem and floated gently into her waiting hands. They did not wilt or fade. They remained as bright and as warm as if they were still on the plant. She had not taken them. The flower had given them to her. She carefully wrapped the 5 glowing petals in a soft cloth and placed them in her satchel, a precious bouquet of pure, captured sunlight. With the precious petals safely in her satchel, Lyra left the warm, secret glen and stepped back out into the cold, twilight world. Now her true journey began, a long and arduous climb to the peak of the highest mountain, to the lair of the Sunstone Dragon. She followed the map, her path leading her higher and higher, away from the last vestiges of life in the valley and up into the barren, rocky highlands. The air grew thinner and colder with every step, and a biting wind began to blow, whistling a lonely, mournful tune through the jagged rocks. The world became a place of only grey stone and purple shadows. There were no trees here, no moss, no signs of life at all. It was a world that had completely forgotten the sun. The only warmth in this entire cold, empty landscape was the tiny, gentle glow that seeped from her own satchel. It was a small but powerful reminder of her purpose. Whenever she felt her courage waver, she would press her hand against the satchel, feel the faint, steady warmth of the petals inside, and she would find the strength to take another step, and then another, up the cold and lonely mountain. The path on the map led her to a series of dark openings in the mountainside. These were the Ice Whisper tunnels, a network of caves that wound their way through the heart of the peak. As Lyra stepped inside the first tunnel, a wave of profound, deep cold washed over her, a cold that felt ancient and magical. The walls of the tunnels were not rock, but were made of smooth, clear, and ancient ice. The air was completely still, and the only sound was the soft crunch of her own boots on the icy floor. But the tunnels were not silent. As she walked deeper, she began to hear a soft, whispering sound. It was the ice itself, and it was whispering to her. It whispered of the deep, dreamless, and peaceful sleep of winter. It told her how cozy and safe it was to simply lie down and let the cold wrap you in its silent, white blanket. It was a tempting, sleepy song, and Lyra felt a great heaviness in her eyelids. She felt her steps grow slower, her body wanting to just curl up against the cold, clear wall and go to sleep. But then, she felt the warmth of the sun petals through her satchel. The warmth was a reminder of life, of dawn, and of her promise. She shook her head, pushing the sleepy whispers away, and walked on, her determination a small, warm fire against the beautiful, dangerous cold. After what felt like an eternity of walking through the cold, sleepy whispers of the ice tunnels, Lyra saw a different kind of light ahead. It was not the cold blue of the ice, but a faint, grey light. She hurried towards it and emerged from the tunnel into a cavern so vast it felt like an underground world. The ceiling was so high it was lost in darkness, and the floor stretched out before her like a great, rocky plain. This was the dragon's lair, but it was not a place of fire and treasure, as the stories often described. It was a place of deep, profound stillness and silence. There were no piles of bones, no scorched rock, only the immense, echoing quiet of a place that had not seen life in a very, very long time. The air was cold, but it was a different kind of cold than the ice tunnels. It was a heavy, lifeless cold, the cold of a heart that had stopped beating. In the very center of the cavern, she saw him. A shape so immense, it looked like a small, collapsed mountain. It was Ignis, the Sunstone Dragon, and he was even bigger and sadder than she had imagined. Lyra walked slowly across the vast stone floor, her small footsteps echoing in the immense silence. As she drew closer, she could truly see the depth of the dragon's sorrow. His great, mountainous body was curled in on itself, a posture of deep and profound grief. His immense head was resting on his stony claws, and his eyes, each one larger than Lyra herself, were closed, sealed shut by a long and dreamless sleep. His magnificent form, which was supposed to be made of warm, glowing sunstone, was now a dull, lifeless grey. Deep, sad cracks ran along his stony hide, and patches of cold, grey moss grew in the crevices. He was not breathing fire. A faint, cold mist, like the sigh of a glacier, escaped from his nostrils with every slow, shallow breath. He did not look like a fearsome monster. He looked like a statue of a forgotten king, a monument to a grief so deep it had turned his very being to stone. Lyra's heart ached for this lonely, ancient creature. She could feel the immense weight of his sadness, a sorrow that had lasted for 1,000 years. She stood before his great, sleeping head, feeling very small, but her resolve did not waver. She had come here to bring him warmth, and she would not leave until his heart was glowing once more. With her heart full of a gentle, determined purpose, Lyra opened her satchel. She carefully took out the 5 glowing Sun-Petal Flowers. In the cold, grey dimness of the dragon's lair, their brilliant, golden light seemed as bright as 5 miniature suns. Their gentle warmth pushed back the deep chill in the air, creating a small, hopeful circle of warmth and light around her. She knew she could not just place them on the ground. A gift of hope must be given with love. She walked forward until she was standing right before the dragon's enormous, stony snout. She reached up with both hands, her arms trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the importance of the moment. She held the beautiful, glowing bouquet of living sunlight out as an offering. "For you," she whispered, her voice soft but clear in the vast silence. "So you can remember the sun." She gently placed the 5 warm, glowing flowers on the cold, grey stone of the dragon's nose, right in front of his closed, sleeping eyes. They lay there, a tiny, brilliant splash of gold on a vast mountain of grey, their warmth and light a direct contrast to the cold, ancient sorrow of the sleeping giant. For a long, silent moment, nothing happened. The flowers just lay there, their golden light a small, lonely beacon on the vast, grey expanse of the dragon's face. Lyra watched, her heart in her throat, her hands clasped together in a silent plea. Had she failed? Was the dragon's sadness too deep, his stony sleep too profound? But then she saw it. A single, tiny, golden spark, like a tiny ember, appeared on one of the dragon's dull, grey scales, right next to where the flowers were resting. It glowed for a moment, and then another spark appeared beside it. A faint, warm, golden line, like a vein of molten gold, began to trace its way through one of the deep cracks in the dragon's stony hide. A low, rumbling sound came from deep within the dragon's chest, a sound like the shifting of the very foundations of the earth. The warmth of the flowers, the memory of the sun, was seeping into him, finding the last, tiny, sleeping ember of his own inner fire. It was working. The magic was beginning. Lyra watched, her eyes wide with a joy so pure it brought tears to her eyes. The great, sad heart of the mountain was beginning to wake up. The single, golden crack of light was just the beginning. It spread to another scale, and then another, branching out in a beautiful, intricate network of light all across the dragon's vast body. The dull, grey stone began to fall away like dust, revealing the magnificent truth that had been hiding underneath. Ignis was not made of stone at all. His true form was made of a beautiful, smooth, and semi-translucent sunstone, the color of the most perfect amber. As the light spread, a deep, powerful, and warm golden orange glow began to shine from within his entire body. The cold, grey cavern was filled with a magnificent, warm, and life-giving light, the light of a personal sunrise. The rumbling in his chest grew stronger, and then, with a slow, ancient, and majestic movement, his great, stony eyelid began to open. The eye that was revealed was not a monster's eye. It was an eye the color of a soft, glowing ember, and it was filled with an ancient wisdom and a deep, profound gratitude. The Sunstone Dragon was no longer sleeping. Ignis was awake. Ignis, the awakened dragon, took a deep, slow breath. But it was not air that he inhaled. He drew in all the remaining sorrow and coldness from the cavern. And when he exhaled, it was not fire, but a great, gentle, and silent wave of pure warmth and golden light. This wave of warmth flowed out of the cave mouth, a magical, silent river of dawn. It swept through the ice whisper tunnels, and the ancient ice did not melt, but it began to sparkle with a new, warm light, its sleepy whispers turning into a happy, chiming song. The wave of warmth flowed down the barren, rocky slopes of the mountain, and tiny green shoots of moss and resilient mountain flowers began to sprout instantly from the cracks in the rock. It washed over the silent forest and the sluggish river, bringing life and color and music back to the world. And it finally reached the valley, where the people were living in their perpetual twilight. For the first time in 1,000 years, they saw the sky turn from silver blue to a soft, rosy pink, and then to a brilliant, beautiful gold. The true dawn had returned. The sun's warmth was not just a memory anymore. It was real, and it filled every corner of the valley with its life-giving light. Back in the now glowing cavern, Ignis lowered his great, warm head to Lyra. "Thank you, little one." His voice rumbled, not in her ears, but in her mind, a sound as warm and as steady as the sun itself. "You have woken my heart. You have reminded me of the light." He then gently nudged her with his smooth, warm snout. "Now, allow me to take you home, Lyra." Her heart, overflowing with a joy she had never imagined possible, climbed onto the dragon's broad, warm neck. Ignis walked to the mouth of his cavern and, with a single, powerful but gentle push of his great legs, he launched himself into the air. Lyra held on tight as they soared out into the new, golden morning. She had the most incredible view of her home. She saw the river sparkling with a true sunlit brilliance. She saw the forests, a deep and vibrant green. And she saw the people of her village, all outside, their faces turned up to the sky, celebrating the return of the sun. Flying on the back of the magnificent, gentle dragon, soaring through the warm, golden air, Lyra knew that she would never forget this moment. She had not just saved her world, she had made a friend of the dawn itself. Ignis flew Lyra all the way back to the hill behind her village and landed as gently as a falling leaf. Lyra slid from his back, her feet landing softly on the warm, green grass. The world was alive with the happy chatter of birds and the cheerful hum of bees. The cold silence was gone forever. "Will you stay awake now?" Lyra asked the great dragon. Ignis's ember-like eyes smiled. "The world is too beautiful to sleep through," his voice rumbled in her mind. "I will sleep at night, as all creatures should, but every morning I will breathe a new dawn into your valley. I will be its guardian, its warm heart." He promised that he would never let such a deep sadness make him forget the sun again, and Lyra promised that she would often visit him, to bring him flowers and to tell him stories, so that he would never be lonely again. With a final, warm nudge of his great head, the magnificent Sunstone Dragon launched back into the sky, a beautiful, flying sunset, and returned to his warm and now happy home in the mountain. Lyra watched him go, her heart full, the warmth of the new sun on her face. And so Lyra and the Sunstone Dragon filled the valley with a new and lasting warmth. Now it's your turn to find the gentle warmth in your own cozy bed. Close your eyes, dream of a beautiful sunrise, and have a wonderful sleep. Good night. If you enjoyed our fable tonight, we hope you'll join us again. Please like and subscribe to Bedtimes Fable to help us share more gentle stories with the world. Sweet dreams.